is Head of Public Affairs at COCOBOD. Mr. Kesan, you're welcome to Eyewitness News.
Thank you very much, Mario.
Forgive me, your name threw me a bit. So your name, is it the K, does it stand for another name, or your surname is Kesan? Just want to be sure. Forgive me.
No, so my name is Jerome Kweku Sam.
Oh, okay.
Sam,
okay.
S-A-M.
Oh, like Samuel, short form.
No, yes, so Sam. Yeah, not Samuel, Sam. A surname called Sam.
Very well, very well. I've seen that there are people who are blasting you for something you should be celebrated for. That the increase in the cost of cocoa, a sack of cocoa, is just some 100 cedis, and that your claim that the increase is up to 60% cannot be true. Can you tell us how you arrived at the 60%?
You said the increase as to how many percent?
Of over 60% cannot be accurate, because 100 cedis top up of 3,100 cannot be 60% of the original price.
Okay. Thank you very much, Umaru. I think as you rightly said, we need to put clarity to some of the issues that possibly people do not understand. Looking at where I say this not to be ambiguous, but for the purposes of education and clarity, I think it is imperative for us to throw more light on this particular issue. It is important for us to establish that we are not talking about an increment of 62%, but instead we are talking about an FOB of 70%, all right? That should be established. We will come to the details of it. Now, we did mention that we've had an increment of about 62%, okay? And now this 62% is representing the fact that when you consider the 2024-2025 season, where government gave a gross FOB in terms of the farmer share of $3,100, and you compare that one to today, which is 5,040, it is an increment of almost about $2,000, signifying a percentage of 62 point something percent. All right. So that is the percentage that the finance minister was alluding to. So if anyone is listening, we are talking about the $3,100 in 2024-2025 season to the 5,040 that the minister has announced today, constituting the 62.25%. That should be understood. Again, people are talking about the nominal figure of 128% in terms of the increment to the already 3,100 Ghana cedis. Yes, if somebody makes this argument, the person might say that, oh, okay, then it means that the government has only increased this by 128 Ghana cedis. So why should the government be celebrated? The point the person should appreciate or understand is that, look, we do not sell the cocoa bean in Ghana cedis. What we do is we sell it on the international market, raking in what foreign currency, in this instance, dollars. When you get the dollars, because we do not spend dollars in our country, you need to find the equivalent of whatever amount that you had. So you do a multiplication in respect of the prevailing exchange rate that will be given. And that is why when you do that, then you get your total revenue, that this is how much I am getting from the sales that I made. So of that, what is going to be the percentage of what? Of the farmer. So in 2024-2025, what we got during the previous administration was $3,100 at an exchange rate of 16 Ghana cedis. So when you do the computation in terms of the prevailing exchange rate, you're going to get 49,600. And exactly that the minister mentioned in his statement. So when you, after getting the 49,600, then you divide it by 16, because every ton of cocoa is being constituted by 16 bags. So that will give you the equivalent of the ton price, which will be 3,100 Ghana cedis. Now, when we come to the 2025-2026, what has happened is we have realized an FOB of $7,200. The $7,200, out of this, the government has given 70%, constituting 50-40. That is $5,040. We come and do the same computation or arithmetic, multiplying the 5,040 by the prevailing exchange rate, which is 10.25. So, Umaru, when you do that, the 50-40 times the 10.25, you are getting 51,660. Then you divide it by what? 16. So when you divide it by 16, that is where you're going to get a 3,228. Now, the most important thing that we should not lose sight of is that We are talking about an astronomical increment from 3,100 US dollars to 5,040. And you can check, there is no government, there is no management under COCOBOD that has increased cocoa to this magnitude before. I think for the past 3 decades or so. So in terms of dollar terms, it is indeed a significant amount. So should our exchange rate be pegged at 16 cedis as we inherited, you would have known that indeed the expectation of the farmer talking about 5,000 and over, the person would have had that amount. But because of policies and programs of the government which has made the Cedi to gain strength, it is really affecting the revenue. And this one, it is not exclusive or related to COCOBOD alone, because any exporting company, any company that exports, is going to face this kind of challenge. But even in our difficulty, losing revenue on the international market, because as we speak, Omar, I know you love to do much of the research. You can go onto the international market and find out that currently how much is a ton of cocoa being sold. I mean, it has reduced to somewhere 7,200 or 7,300, which comes to exactly what the government is using and giving 70% to the farmer. So we should get that point clear and know that in fact, in terms of dollar terms, the government significantly has increased the price. But because of the appreciation and how buoyant our city have become, that is why we are seeing what we are seeing today.
Okay, so the figure is 3,200 or so. That is the figure on a sack of cocoa now, a bag of cocoa now.
Yeah, 3,228.
328. Okay, good. You are saying to me that if the value of the Cedi was not as strong and the exchange rate was at 16, this 3,200 would have been what?
Would have been over 5,000.
So that then it will be a move from 3,100 to 5,000 Cedi plus.
Yes. So
but because the Cedi has done well, instead of moving from 3,100 to 5,000 plus, it has moved from 3,100 to just a little over 3,200. That's what you want us to understand.
Yes, that is exactly what it is, because the simple arithmetic you have to do is that come and pick the 5,040 and then multiply by 16. Okay, if the exchange rate remained at 16, then it means that when you do this multiplication, you are going to get per ton in Ghana cedis of over 80,640. Then you divide by 16, you are going to get about 5,040. So which means that it would have moved from that to that amount.
So you are saying to us that in the year 2024, December to January 2025, if I were holding 5,000 cedis in Muhammad's July of 2025, it would be only 3,000. That's how much the value would be.
Certainly. So if you were to hold $5,000.
No, cedis. I think we're dealing with cedis for now. Let's deal with the cedis. I prefer that.
No,
because you are going to give 3,000 to the farmers, right? 3,200 for the farmers. We are going
3,220.
Fantastic. And I'm saying that, so if it was in January you would have given them 5,000 cedis instead of 3,200.
Yes, so if the price were to be announced using the 5,040 FOB price that we have used today at the prevailing exchange rate of 16, then certainly the farmer would have had over 5,000 cedis.
That's fair.
The farmer share.
That's fair. But my question though is that the money that is going to come to the pocket of the farmers is not a hypothetical one. It is the fact. You have 3,200 cedis. That is what it is.
Yes.
Why are we trying to communicate by saying that even though they are pocketing 3,200, they should in their mind believe and think that they are actually pocketing 5,000 cedis? Help me make sense of that.
Yes, so Omaru, I have ad initio explained to you that for us to come to a determination of the price, it starts or it gets from somewhere. And then the price bill that we are going to use what? A hard currency, in this case the dollars. Because we go and make sales and get a revenue in dollars. And then we do the computation and get the Cedi equivalent. That is what we are going to get. And also one thing we have, or we should not lose sight of, is the fact that if the farmer is getting 3,228, which only constitutes a nominal increment of 128 Ghana cedis. It is also happening at a time that inflation is stable. So it is not going to affect the income of the farmer, whereby there wouldn't be that increment in general prices of goods and services in the country. So even though the farmer is getting something that possibly he or she might term meager or marginal, it is quite substantial in terms of its value than what the person even would have had maybe 4,000 today at an inflation rate of maybe 25 or 50 as we used to witness, which certainly will cause the general prices of goods and services to be high. So if we are talking about the price, we shouldn't talk about it in isolation. We should do that in tandem with other factors in the economy which has come to play. Because you cannot do economic analysis in vacuum.
Yeah, but why do we have to, for political, is it for political expediency or for political point scoring, why do we have to even say it's 60% when in fact and indeed it is not 60%? Why do we have to say that? Why can't we just say that? Let me ask a question that you can answer.
No, because I am not even getting where you are getting that 60% or whatever from. I have told you 62.25%.
I'm actually just estimating to the nearest 10, and that's 60%. So let's say over 60%. My point is that
63%.
I didn't say to the nearest one. I said to the nearest 10. I still remember my estimates back in secondary school. But my point is that if the person is receiving from 3,100 to 3,200, I don't know how and why we have to say it's 60 plus percent. Like, why can't we just say it is 5% or 2%? It's a fact, right?
No,
people still feel the weight when they go to the market, don't you think?
Okay, so the point you are also missing is that the moment the season ends, all right, every price that it came with has ended as well. So you can only make reference to the previous price. But in terms of the price build-up, we are going to use different variables, i.e., the price on the international market, as well as the prevailing exchange rate. So we only can make references to what has become past, but not necessary to say that, oh, okay. So it's like somebody saying that President Mahama will give 70%. And then the person decides to work 70% of the prevailing or the previous price of 3,100, getting over 2,170 and adding it to it and doing that simplistic calculations or analysis. That is not how it is being done, because the moment the season comes to an end, its price has also come to an end. So we look at different variables altogether, what is happening on the international market as against your exchange rate or your currency, and then we do the pricing. So if somebody should say that, oh, we should just see is that maybe it is a 5%, it is a 2%, it is this, it is that, and as such it is insignificant, then the person is not making the correct analysis that ought to be made for the appreciation and understanding of the general populace. Very well.
Before you go, the issue of the syndicated loan is something that has been condemned in the past by many. Why are we still doing syndication? I thought
we are not doing syndication.
So we are not doing syndication for this particular one?
No. So in fact, to be very honest, last year we didn't do syndication, and this year we are not doing syndication. And then what has necessitated for us not doing syndication has been that we are experiencing a global shortage, all right, a global shortage of the cocoa bean. So the buyers on the international market have really stepped in to even do help in the financing of the purchase of the bean. So that is what happened. That's the financial model that happened as of last season and then this season as well. So we are not doing syndication whereby we are going to incur additional expenses and what have you. So that is out of the system of table for now.
Thank you for speaking to us, sir.
Thank you very much, Kumaro.
That's Jerome Kweku Sam. He is head of public affairs at COCOBOD. This is Eyewitness.